everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the Art of Awesomeness podcast series. I'm your host, Christian Caito, joined by your also host, Adrian Kiswani.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you for being here, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, it's my house, but yeah.
Oh, well,
Yikes.
Technically, if we're getting technical with it.
Oh, for being okay.
Technical.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything, we have some very important business.
We do have a first order of business to get out of the way.
To get
into the main point of conversation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
By the way, we're referring to an outline.
We're using an outline today just to kind of give people a background of the last podcast. That was our first episode where we just sort of jumped into it without planning anything. So we didn't have an outline or anything. We just sort of went for it. So this time we're going to try and be a bit more organized with the way we go about it, so we don't get lost for time.
So if you see us going like that, or maybe
if we're looking at this side, we're looking at a screen.
We want you guys to get the most out of this, so we're going to be organized.
Yeah.
First order of business is Happy National Exascale Day.
Yikes.
And that is basically about something that Adrian's about to talk about right now.
Yeah. So we didn't know what this was a few days ago when we saw it on the National Day calendar, but apparently it's if there's pretty much anyone in a medical, engineering, and like software development sort of position at work, and they make a breakthrough with the use of a supercomputer. So if you make a breakthrough of any kind with the use of a supercomputer, I guess that's an exascale day. So if there's anyone who knows more about this than us, we're sorry.
We're open to it. Yeah. Okay.
Celebrate that.
My favorite International Legging Day.
Yeah.
So both of us are actually wearing one right now.
But except.
So I'm excited.
I don't know
for
what
that.
Christian is wearing, but I'm wearing jeans, and it looks like you're wearing jeans too.
Well, under this.
You're wearing leggings under jeans?
Well, because International Leggings Day.
Do you even have leggings? Why would you have that?
It's also National Chocolate Cupcake Day.
But not to be confused with National Chocolate Chip Cupcake Day.
Don't do that, or else it's bad.
You'll be
there's a difference. It's like oranges and apples.
You will be attacked.
Apples are better.
I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
National No Beard Day. Adrian, out of both of us.
Insult.
Adrian, out of both of us, has. Look. He freaking has like something going on.
We got something going on here, and I'm not celebrating the National Day very well.
Well, stick around, because at the end we're going to shave his beard.
No.
If we get 10 million followers in the next 5 minutes.
If that happens, I will shave my beard, but that's not going to happen. So we're good.
All right. Adrian.
All right. So look, this episode podcast, of course, we wanted it to be a bit more structured, because based off of the first episode, we looked back on it and we were critical of ourselves on how exactly we did. And I think one of the main things that we could have improved on was the flow of things. So we have broken up this episode into a bit of two halves. So the first half is going to be talking about what exactly you should be striving for, and we're going to talk about, I guess, the ideal motivation for things, right? Having the right attitude, having the right
what are you chasing?
Yeah, what you're chasing. The second part of the podcast is going to be how to go about that, right? Mm-hmm. So first part, what exactly should you be chasing? Second part, exactly how you're going to go about doing that. And both Christian and I have a few different methods of doing so that we've tried, that we've done. And we're going to go into those in detail. So I guess, what did we want to start with? We wanted to start with talking about our own successes and failures. Right. That was actually your idea.
We were brainstorming. Was it on Wednesday, Tuesday?
Yeah, it was when we talk a lot at like night after like school's work and stuff like that.
So we met up and we just talked about different potential ideas, and this was one of them. That's tied into a string of them. Successes and failures. Which one are we?
You wanted to talk about, I guess you said it was your biggest success and your biggest failure, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh,
yikes.
Sorry.
And that was senioritis. That was your kind of channel. So I don't know if you want to tell people about kind of how that went for you, why that was a success and a failure at the same time.
Before you guys come hating in the comments or whatever you say.
The moment you said that, someone's
gonna. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's just because senioritis was not a failure. I'm very proud of that, because
It was I wouldn't call it a failure either, to be honest.
When I mean this, I mean senioritis was both one of my biggest successes and simultaneously a part of it was a failure, ultimately a failure. So just to reiterate, success was starting it for the purpose of documenting senior year. And
because that was something you wanted to do for a long time. I remember both of us. Well, we'll probably get into this as the podcasts go on, but we've been trying to do YouTube for a long time.
Yeah, since
like 7th, 8th grade,
middle school.
So when he started senioritis and like regular videos were coming out and like well-made videos that he was putting all of his energy into, I feel like, because you would always tell me like, dude, next senioritis episode coming out, like he was really excited about it all the time.
It was just fun, and it was cool.
And you learn from it too.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially when you're part of leadership, you try to find ways that incorporate people.
I can't relate.
Hey, you were in most of them. You actually remember that mock interview we did in Campos's dance room? I still have the footage. It's on. I'll show you after this.
It was in his
dance room. I'll show you afterwards.
A mock interview?
Yeah, just like for fun that we did, that we would have gone on the channel or something like that.
Oh no, I remember that. We got those chairs. We were like, that was such. Oh, we messed up so many times.
You have to find ways in leadership, new creative ways, and ones that are unique to you that incorporate people and kind of generally just raise awareness for school spirit,
right?
And everything like that. So that's where it was really fun to make when that came in, because you got a lot of input saying who wanted to be on it, ideas for what to post.
I think everyone in leadership knew about senioritis. I don't think there was a single person who was ignorant to it.
It was like a self-project to document the lives of these students over the course of the year. Little did we know Corona was going to be happening, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where the failure part... See, here's the thing. I wouldn't really call it a failure, but it was definitely...
like a setback.
Yeah, because
like a roadblock.
Because it didn't stop you from doing YouTube. It didn't stop you from filmmaking, but it halted that specific part of it, so because what would have been a failure in my book is if you got really into YouTube, coronavirus happened, then you were just like, nah, I give up entirely, and you didn't work toward it again. That would be like failure for me. But the fact that we're sitting here with like 2 cameras, 2 lights, microphones and stuff, that shows that it didn't necessarily like completely cut it off. So. So, it, like what Adrian said, the failure part of it, the setback, was that what was the last video I made? That was was that SNH? I can check right now, actually. Do you want to check?
I think it was. I remember making a coronaitis video about coronavirus, and
well, you made 2 videos that were pretty back to each other.
I think I'm 90% sure it was SNH. It was like a funny positive news hour thing that I just wanted to do for the heck of it, because I haven't done it in a little while.
Oh my gosh, where are you?
I'm irrelevant now.
I know. You stopped uploading for so long.
We're looking on his computer.
Did I just misspell it or something?
No, I think you got it.
That's so weird.
Whoa. Senorita. Anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah.
When you don't misspell senioritis.
In a sense.
What the heck?
I made the mistake of thinking about it too much, and how I get back into the game when I had the wrong. Essentially, what we'll get back into is having the right focus and state of mind, where I didn't have the right motivation going into it, and I could, as I made more.
It was SNH. It was SNH.
As I made more of them, like from SNH to the Week in the Life. I just know it would kind of be a struggle sometimes, and I would feel like really unmotivated to do so, because it's like more of a dread and like an obligation.
Yeah, well, that's what you don't want your passion to be. You don't want it, because that kind of goes into what you're chasing, right? Because if you're chasing something in vain, you're not going to be elated to do it every single day, And of course, even people who are passionate about something, there's going to be the ups and downs, because like even this, sometimes there are setbacks, and it's not always fun necessarily doing this. Like sometimes you can get in a place where you're like, when I edit these videos, it can be fun in the beginning, but after, I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours,
like
it gets
starts
a bit,
off fun, but And
but when you know that you're chasing the right thing, generally you're not gonna get sick of it to the point where you know, if it's the next day, you're gonna be like, okay, time to get back on.
When we say chasing the right thing, like having the right motivation and reason why you're doing anything. So I'm just wrap my
anything.
For mine, I was kind of dreadful at the end because I was too worried about what other people thought of it, and I felt like I was losing touch with the reason why I made it. So that's a whole other thing, but in the end, I let it get to me too much where at the point when I was making them, I didn't have the right motivation and mindset of why I made them, when really it was just about me just having fun and documenting, the lives of my best friend.
If you let outside forces sort of dictate your own sort of internal compass or internal path, that can generally lead you astray, right? Because what did it start out with for you? It was, like you said, trying to make fun videos to look back on and remember a certain time period. Like you're trying to capture a moment in time. You're trying to capture this year that for most people is a pretty big one. And eventually what I noticed, and you noticed as well, which is good on your part because you were able to sort of, as we're going to talk about, be self-analytical, self-analyze. You realize that you stopped doing it for the moment necessarily, and you began doing it for just the pleasure of other people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you're trying to help people, but it wasn't really that. It was like you felt like you were almost, I don't want to say like,
I don't like it was like when
I'm trying to find the right word for it.
Like when I made them, I started thinking about solely of making sure everybody was happy, that everybody took away instead of just relying on just me having fun with it and experimenting, regardless if there was like someone that didn't like it. It got to a point where it was really about, I need to make sure everybody likes
because then you just become a people pleaser, right? Which is something you shouldn't be. You should make sure that you're true to yourself. And you should be true to your morals, true to your ultimate compass. Obviously for people that's different, depending on what you believe, but you should always adhere to that over pressures, I guess is what we're trying to say.
That's mine. That's my story. Thank you guys for listening, Adrian. But more so, what about you? Because we were talking about this a little bit on Wednesday.
As far as my successes and failures, what I found interesting when Christian talked about the first time, because we already kind of had this conversation a bit in depth when we were brainstorming, is very similar to his in the sense that I also had my Adrian Kiswani YouTube channel, which I started for very similar reasons to his, but it didn't end, I don't think, because of coronavirus. I think it ended because, the biggest success factor, let me back up. The first success factor of my YouTube channel was the fact that I was able to experiment with a passion of mine. I was able to, better my content as time went on. And the more videos you make, or the more you spend time in your hobby or your passion, the better you're going to get at it, right? If you draw for weeks straight, you're going to see improvement, right, from when you first started. If you make a video, you're going to see improvement months down the line of the content, maybe the editing, camera angles, color grading, so on and so forth. But the reason I ended mine wasn't necessarily because of the coronavirus, because I still made videos up until our graduation point.
I think most of you guys know that he still posted some.
I posted because what I dedicated myself to was I posted every single day the last week of our senior year. Yeah. And I think I may have posted a video like a few days or a week after that.
Oh shoot! Should we real quick, because I think that one's about to end. Should we just quickly
Oh yeah, that has 23 seconds. So we're gonna go to a quick intermission to get some technical stuff out of the way. When we come back, I'm gonna finish talking about.
We'll keep it. Remember
my success and failures about the YouTube channel. So enjoy the video. And we're back.
Hope you guys enjoyed that
intermission.
Fun little
I'm gonna surprise him with that. Christian doesn't even know what it is yet.
Well, you showed me. Is it some of them that you showed me?
It's probably gonna be one of them. Yeah, okay. But I'm not. You're gonna have to wait for that.
It's
one.
Gonna be a treat.
I think it's gonna be shorter than the last one. You know, the seal. Yeah. So, anyways, we were talking about my success and failure. So the channel, I guess the failure part for me was because I started the channel for someone, right? And I think you did too.
Yeah.
But over time that changed because for both of us, that someone sort of, it didn't work the way we thought it was going to work. So,
ways, but we still kept.
Yeah. So we still kept the channel because we thought it was going to be a different situation for both of us. But I sort of questioned what exactly I was doing the YouTube channel for at that point. And I realized that it wasn't really for anything. You know, I struggled to figure out what the meaning of it was. And so really the beginning of this podcast was, and you know, our joint channels was to sort of essentially just what we said in the first episode, to help people with their problems, answer their questions, give our accounts from biblical perspectives, you know, which is what we believe. Yeah. And that makes it really clear, right? Because now from our successes and failures, both of us sort of realized that we could team up and work together to make content that would better ourselves and other people, right? So that's a clear goal, right? That's something that you can work on indefinitely, right? So that's what we're talking about when we say seeking, you know, what you're seeking after. I mean, is this something that is, you know, something that's truly something that aligns with what you believe? It's not contradictory to what your values are or anything like that.
Like it's innate.
It's innate, yeah, right. And also that it's something that can be sustained. It's something that's achievable. It's something that you can see yourself doing in the long run, right? And that's something that you're not going to tire from or wax old from. It's something that you can actually, you know, continue strong at, you know, years down the line. Like I could see us doing this podcast years from now. And it's not like hard to fathom or something like that, you know? So I think that's probably what we would.
In that sense. And what's our next, we're talking about explaining what to seek after. So it's kind of like another side note leading on to that.
This is a side note, yeah. So pretty much what we have written here, because we're going to give you, of course, this is our podcast, so we're going to give you examples from our own personal experience based on our own beliefs. So we're Christians, so our perspectives, of course, are going to come from the Bible. That's just how that works, right? But regardless of what you believe, you should always, in our opinion, seek the truth, right? Because I think one of the major lies, I guess you could say, that we've been sold in this sort of postmodern day and age is that you should seek happiness above all else. Right.
Like and whatever means to be
like happy.
Strictly.
The problem with that is when you're purely seeking happiness, you start seeking after pleasure, like immediate pleasure, which generally speaking can lead you down a pretty dark road.
So there's a fine line. Like that's not like striving for personal like happiness and fulfillment. It's not a bad thing. We're not saying that, but there's a fine line between like
what we're saying
how
is
you get it and
what we're saying is that if you shouldn't have happiness as your top priority, believe it or not. And that's not to mitigate the meaningfulness of happiness or the meaningfulness of joy in a person's life. What we're saying is that truth should be the number one. Because ideally, if you're seeking truth as your number one sort of goal, right, your pinpoint marker in the distance, seeking truth and finding that truth, that's what's going to bring you enlightenment. That's what's going to bring you happiness, right? So if you seek happiness and not truth, you know, you're going after the wrong thing. It's almost like treating the symptoms rather than the disease, right? You're treating just random symptoms of stuff with instant gratification instead of getting to the root of an issue, right?
Wow, that was
you know, so you should go for the root of your goal, which should be the truth ultimately, and then if that's what you're seeking after, everything else is going to kind of trickle down into place, essentially. So this is not to say not to seek happiness or not to do things that bring you joy, but make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that it's in alignment with what you believe the truth to be. Yeah. Right. So because that's going to lead you down a better path than if you were to just, because I'll give an example, right? If you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're in a dark space in life at the moment, this world will try and cure that with a multitude of different things. I mean, we could go, for us, it would be, what's one way you can satisfy your sadness? For a lot of men, it's either drinking, women, smoking, just a bunch of that stuff.
General stuff.
Just like, because that's what you generally see people going down when they get into a really dark place as adults. That's the most common issues that you see. Growing up, when a husband and a wife become unhappy with each other and they're in a dark space, what do? A lot of the times they cheat, they commit adultery, they do all these things, right, that are wrong, that aren't truthful, that aren't good, but they do it to just alleviate some of that pain that they're going through. But is it beneficial in the long run? Right. Okay. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So they're trying to treat symptoms, which ends up making the disease just grow more and more, because you're trying to quench a bunch of symptoms at one time, but you're missing the whole big disease that's behind that, right? It's like if someone were to have cancer, but you're only giving them, coughing pills, right? You're like, well, you have cancer and your throat hurts, so take these coughing pills, it'll stop the coughing. But you're kind of ignoring the point that you're like, oh, no, you have cancer, so you have to get rid of the big problem first, and then all the other ones will go away.
What would, for two questions that came to mind. The first one, say you're in that situation, just kind of give people more foundation off of what we're trying to talk about. Yeah. When you say you're in that situation, the whole the male husband and wife thing. Yeah. Or cheating. Say you're in that person's shoes right now, how would you go about finding what we're talking about?
Right. So of course, depending on your situation. So we're talking about specifically a husband and a wife.
Yeah. Here. Say you're what you just talked about.
Right. So in that specific example, again, it's going to be varied for a few different people. Obviously it's not a cut and dry sort of plan.
Like a cookie cutter kind of.
But situation. Some of the general rules that you can follow is make sure that you're seeking after the truth. So in our opinion, right, if this was me that we're talking about, the truth of the matter is we understand it. If we're talking about marriage, from a biblical perspective, it's till death do us part. So it's more so just suck it up and, deal with the person, try and make amends with this individual, right? It's not to just say, no, I can't deal with you and go separate ways necessarily, because it doesn't always work, right? Because now you're almost being a bit selfish, right? Now, if it's an abusive relationship, that's a different thing. That's when, someone is being harmed by a malicious individual. Then it's less two people making mistakes and more of okay, there's just one person who's clearly the problem here, right? Yeah. But more often than not, it's more complicated than we like to admit, and generally it's both people being a bit in the wrong here. So the first step that you do is exactly what we're talking about: self-reflection. Figure out, because the number one thing we want to do is place blame somewhere. If something's wrong in our life, we want to place blame so that we can have something to get mad at, something to address. It's easier. Right? It's easier. And we don't have any issues with that. The issue comes in when we're part of the problem, because no one wants to admit that they're part of the problem, right? So part of getting out of a sticky situation or a dark place in life is figuring out what part you're playing, because more often than not, you are a player in this, right? Whether you're a direct player or an indirect player, you are contributing to something that's causing you to feel the way you're feeling, So make sure that you are looking at your behavior in an objective way, detach from the instantaneous emotion, the flurry of emotion you feel in the moment, and try and detach from that.
Which can be difficult too.
It can be very difficult.
Right, we're just
right. Again, this isn't easy, right? Because this is a dark point in your life. Nothing is going to be easy, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't at least try to better yourself. And a lot of and bettering yourself, making sure that you're on the right path, is going to start first and foremost with looking inwardly at yourself and figuring out what you really are seeking after in life, and whether or not this is either helping you or holding you back from accomplishing that, right? So
that's a good.
So if you're you want me to check the camera?
No, it was looking.
Yeah,
we have 10 minutes. Yeah.
So if you are in a bad situation with a person, for example, because this is what a lot of us deal with as young people, right? A lot of the time it's not, like typically when you're older is when it's like financial stuff, when distant relatives or something like that. When you're young, it's mostly between you and another person or a few other people. It's typically just social drama at our age, at least, right? That's the main problem that plagues us. The first thing you want to do if you're in that situation is just really what you want to do is just attach. Get out of
disattach.
Just get out of your little bubble of drama and try and look at it from an outward perspective. And if you do that, things typically come in really clear, right? But the first thing you have to do is get out of that environment, clear your head, make sure that you're not fueling the fire anymore, right? You're trying to either get away from this or you're trying to confront this in a productive manner, right? And you can only do that if you're not controlled by your emotions, because your emotions can be misleading, right? Your emotions can get you to flip out and get hecka angry for some reason, which is something you wouldn't do if you were just normal, calm, objective. So try and be objective in difficult situations and even in normal situations. Even if life is going well for you, make sure that you take some time and just look at, okay, what did I do this week? What did I do this month or, in the past few months? Like, what have I done that's getting me to where I need to go? And I know that this sort of ties into some of the advice you wanted to give on backwards thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, I guess I'll let you describe that, but that's essentially what I just said, but a certain approach to that. And I know you've tried this. So.
About what we were talking about, like long-term personal goals and stuff like that. Yeah. So Adrian and I were talking, I'd say like on Wednesday or Tuesday again, about different methods we have about ways we kind of step back from heavy situations and that kind of help us cultivate a bigger picture mindset for things. Or if the first thing for me was about working backwards, and this is something that actually I learned when I was younger, when I was still living in Pleasanton. And
the good old days.
The good old days when I was just a wee lad.
Little boy.
It was when I'm trying to phrase this correctly, because in a way, if we're talking about goals, working backwards.
You're trying to put the goal first, really.
Yeah. So you start with really anything, because this is any general thing. Like, say, for example, for me, it was to graduate high school with superintendents. That was me at the time, because that was my big picture. Yeah. That was me at the picture. So I was thinking,
that's the biggest thing in your life.
Yeah, I want to be cool in high school, and I want to get good grades. So how I did that, working backwards, was, what do I have to do first? First cultivate the will to do that. Of course. I didn't phrase it like that. I was a lot younger, so I just said, like, do good, be dedicated. Well, but as you get older, like, I think we're at a point now, at least, where we can see things for kind of what we'd more personally like to have in our lives, rather than just short term, like have a good channel.
You think more about the long term. Yeah.
So in this sense,
in high school, you're in your own little world.
Yeah, and you can't see beyond the borders. You'll come across, like, after high school.
It's a natural progression.
Yeah. Look, we're talking like I bet there's some adults watching us right now. Like, these kids actually.
These kids know nothing. No, we're mostly we're addressing people our age.
Yeah, we're just.
But I mean, most of these can be applied or kind of placed in different ways. A lot of what we're saying can be interpreted in a way that can be beneficial to you specifically, even if it's not directed at your specific situation.
So for me, one of them was to graduate college, and you get to find out what I want to do with my life, as in the career terms, because that's something a lot of people struggle with. We can maybe talk about that in like another one, like specifically about career path. But say if I went into psych, like, just for me an example, and you make this your own, but I think first get a paper or a sticky note or something, and write at the very right side. First, write down, like in a circle, what my goal is. So in this case, graduating high school or graduating college with
at this point,
a psych degree. Yeah. Then I say, okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to go back or to do that? So I draw a line backwards, like going left, and draw another bubble. You have to get good grades.
Yeah, maybe write like the classes you have to take, just something like that.
Get good grades, establish good connections, get my foot in the door. We'll have to do that. Write another circle from that one going left. So you're going from right to left on the page with another circle. Get good grades and stay on top of things. Maybe in that bubble also write. Look into career paths. So, I think hopefully you guys get the general idea there. Just having whatever goal it is in mind. And
you got 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Goal in mind from there and working backwards from that. So it could really be any goal that it is, whether if it's achieving, something in the next few years or, I think it's a bit harder to do looking down the road, like having...
I know what you mean. Like you if you start where you are now and then you try and think, okay, like I'll use your situation for example. You're like, okay, well, I'm a high schooler and I want to graduate college with a psychology degree, right? I want to become, I don't know, a therapist or something, right? I don't know. And what most people would do is they would say, okay, well, I'm going to take this and this classes in high school, and when I get to college, I'll go to this college because they're really good at psychology, right? They got a bunch of good pathways for that. And what that generally can do is it can really, while the attention is good, what will happen is you'll start to spread out in a bunch of different directions, and all of a sudden it's not just psychology, right? Yeah. Now it's a bunch of other things that relate to that. It might be like philosophy or teaching, or being a professor somewhere or being an author maybe on a subject. And because what that can do is when you start right now, right, most people when they're in high school and college, if you were to pick where they are right now and ask them, hey, what do you want to do? I mean, they say, well, I want to be this, but being this could also be cool. And it's not that, and that's fine. But if you want a goal that is achievable that you really want to get to, it's good to put the goal first, right? So that you can, because working backwards to where you are is easy because the goal is already there. You can't get lost going back to where you are. You're working towards 2 points, one of which is completely set and you don't have to worry about getting lost on your way there. Whereas if you just kind of go into it blindly saying, I'm going to do this, hopefully it helps getting me to psychology, right? Or hopefully it helps me to get to where I'm going, you might get lost along the way. And so I'm not saying you can't get there by doing that, but you might hit some bumps in the road. You might get to a bunch of detours that are unnecessary, that could have been avoided had you just made sure that the goal was the first thing in mind, that you're not, getting distracted essentially. Yeah.
So like in essence, life, it's difficult for a bigger, to do my, the goal, having the end in mind and going backwards thing. Oh, how much time do we have left on that?
You still got time. I'm just checking.
I'll say it quickly and then we can cut off at, we do it again. And
sure.
Yours. For bigger picture things, of course, when I say this goal, I mean, it's better to work for things that, that you can see definitely working around in the near future, like graduating from school. Maybe you want to get in better shape and you can start backwards, like do this routine.
Oh yeah, that was one of your goals, huh?
Yeah. So, or if something else personal, like, for us, it could be spiritually, like, for example, we'll just use an example, like us, like getting closer to God. What do you do? First, relationship.
Read Bible.
Yeah. Pray, and then work backwards, another bubble bubble to get closer, read scripture, spend time with others, relating to it.
Fellowship.
When I do that, so it works better for goals that, that
are direct and it leaves less room for error.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. But make it your own also. You try this. Hopefully this made sense. How much time do we have left on that one?
Yeah, this about 38 seconds left. So I guess we'll just cut this one off. Should we do another intermission or should we just... I feel like maybe we'll just cut this one.
Well, you can start off on like a point and then cut it.
Yeah, we'll cut this off, but no intermission. We'll be right back.
All right, be right back. Awesome, we're back.
All right, so that
was very brief.
Yeah, that was a brief. To them, nothing passed.
Yeah,
really.
it was sometime, and then we're talking about...
So that was, you just gave 2 examples. That was having sticky notes or really just any reminders of things around you to kind of remind you of what your goal is, and then backwards thinking to make sure that the goal is the ultimate thing. That's the paramount. thing that you're working towards.
The sticky notes, I don't think I went into this too much. But
oh yeah, go into that.
Sticky notes is, use sticky notes or small notes or whatever. I use sticky notes because I write down, around my room just for different things. But sticky notes for writing down your goals or writing down like affirmations or something the whole point of sticky notes is to write something that relates to what you're ultimately trying to achieve for anything, and putting it somewhere where you see it every day,
like in your bathroom mirror or at your door,
wherever that is. Stuff. So whether that be, a quote about helping you getting pumped up to get in shape, or something to help you, a reminder for certain things to do these, or remember to do this activity, remember to be grateful for 3 things today, things that help you like really get to where you want to be, personally, like for things like
get in the right school. Mindset.
So that doesn't require as much diving into as the bubble one, but Adrian, you had some too.
I did. So I only had one, I think, and that was so I wrote it down on this little piece of paper so I could give an example, because I know people work well with examples. Yours doesn't have to be exactly mine. It could be something completely different. But as long as you're following the basic idea, I think this is going to be helpful. So one of the ways I prioritize things and I live my life is I make a priority list, right? So that means right here, I have 5 things. You probably can't see. But I have 5 things here from the most to least prioritized in my life. Now, the least prioritized doesn't mean I don't notice it, or anything like that. But it does mean that I spend more time on the things above it than below it.
Right. Priority list.
So first of all, in my list of priorities, that's going to be, I'm a Christian. God essentially is that.
The pinnacle.
Yeah. The epitome of truth. He's paramount, right? Anything regarding my faith is paramount in anything that I do, right? That's the driving force of my own life personally. So if you're religious, that would be, whatever you are believing.
If you're not religious, maybe it's something more personal than that. This is just our.
So so again, this is just my example. You can make it your own. I'm just giving this as sort of something like for you to grab on. So that would be anything regarding my faith, meaning that's prayer, right? That's reading my Bible, right? That's listening to sermons. That's talking with other Christians to get their perspectives, talking about doctrine, talking about faith, and all the things that come with that. I take priority over those things. Right. So if I have the opportunity to pray or work on a homework assignment, I'm going to pray first, right? Just to make sure that I'm in the right headspace, just to make sure I'm focusing on the right thing first, right? Because schoolwork, very important. Not as important as God, in my opinion.
Right.
So God's going to take paramount in everything that I do. Second to that is I have them in like 1-word categories. So the second to that would be relationships. But this isn't strictly romantic relationships. This is family relationships, friendships, and of course, spouses or anything of that nature. So, for example, my priorities would go God and everything that entails in my faith. Then it would go relationships, my family, you. I'm not romantically involved with anyone right now, but should that ever happen, that would be priority, right? Below that, so number 3 would be work. And for some people, that's also school. So you could have this like work, school, right? That's where a lot of your material accumulance is going to come from, right? Because God and relationships, that's more your mental well-being, that's your spiritual well-being. That's going to make sure that you're good in the mind and good in the spirit, and that's paramount. Second to that, or below that, would be you working, you getting to where you need to be in your career, making sure that you're able to provide for a future family, making sure that you are able to pay rent, pay mortgages, pay bills, make sure that you can live a comfortable life, essentially, right? That is number 3, because for me at least, that affects other people, right? When I'm older, depending on how well I hold a job or a career, that's not just gonna affect me. That's gonna affect what? My wife, my kids, all these other things, right? Yeah. So for me right now, work is school, right? Which is just getting a degree. But later on, that's going to become something much bigger. So make sure that you're focusing on work. And that would be the third priority. Fourth is health. So that could be making sure that you're maintaining a good diet, you're getting a lot of water. And also this is physical, right? So make sure that you're working out and that you're physically capable, that you're not, if there's ever a situation where your physicality prevents you from doing something, you should self-analyze. You should make sure that you're able to do things that you enjoy. If you really like hiking, but you're a bit overweight and it sucks to hike, that should tell you something right there. Hey, no, if I get in better shape, this is going to benefit my passion, right? Just as an example. And it's going to make sure that you can protect yourself, defend yourself better if you ever need it. It's going to make sure that you can do more things that are good for you outdoors, going on hikes, bike rides, swimming, that sort of thing. It's just going to be good for you. Healthy mind, healthy spirit, healthy body. If these things are all figured out, your whole life's going to go by a whole lot smoother. And then finally, at the bottom is hobbies, right? Hobbies. So that's anything regarding perhaps something like this, YouTube, or reading a good book, or drawing, anything like that I enjoy. That's where this goes. Make you feel? But you'll notice that I take a lot of care and attention into my hobbies, like all of this. This is just a hobby right now. So that should show you how much more I care about the things above that on this list, right? So make sure that you're prioritizing, you're making a list. I would recommend at least 5, and live your life by this list. This is how I live my life right here, by this list. And it makes things very easily done, right? Whenever I'm forced to choose something in any given situation, this allows me to make the choice and realize that I'm making the right decision here. I'm making the right call, because I've already assessed my priorities. I know where I stand, and that makes everything else just go by smoother in the long run. So that would be my bit of advice for anyone who's perhaps a bit lost. Write down your priorities, see how well you align with them, and live accordingly.
Yeah, essentially. Put in your wallet or something. If you're come across anything, just be like, priorities. Put it back.
It's just like someone sees, like, what are you doing? You're just like, oh no,
you're not a priority.
You're at the bottom,
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
All right, and so we just like to quickly say that
make sure that you're following something. So if you're not right now, try out these methods.
Yeah.
Try out these methods, because we tried them and they've worked quite well for us. I know for you.
So
been beneficial.
Again, we can only go so far of telling you guys like what worked for us. Hopefully you did gain something from this, but in the end, we only found those things because we tried different things of what worked personally for us, like uniquely. So that may take some time. Maybe one of these will springboard you into having a better routine of helping you analyze like priorities and keeping in mind what's important throughout any decision in your life. And it's so really, what did I say early on Wednesday? To find out what works for you, you have to put in the work to do so, or something like that.
Yeah
Something like that.
I was impressed he said that. I was like, dang, Christian.
Just the things I come up with.
Like, no, he because we were like doing normal conversation up to that point, and he decided to just drop that. And I wasn't ready.
I didn't even know it was that profound. Dang. I was just like, in a sense,
acted nonchalant.
Figure out. It takes time, and be patient, and be okay with not.
Patience is important. Yeah, make sure it's a lot of trial and error. Christian and I did not come up with these techniques overnight. I mean, it took some hardship in between to get to the mindsets that we have now. So that might be true for you, and don't shy away from that. If you want to, improve yourself, you might have to fail a little bit before you end up succeeding. So make sure you keep that in mind.
Remember that no matter what's happening, I think the main point that we're trying to make is when we say keep the right motivation, is that, every so now and then, it can actually be a kind of motivational too, because like when you go, like say for us, like we're in school, and it can be pretty hectic sometimes. But like knowing
stressful,
like in the middle of the night, like when you're working on an essay or something, for me at least, knowing like I wanted to stop on this. We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
I wanted to stop on this.
On check.
What kind of keeps me going a bit more, pushing the extra mile, is knowing like why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to help me get a better grade in school, to help me excel more in what I'm trying to achieve in the long run, to provide for my mom, my dad, my friends, my loved ones. And so it's really, when thinking of it like that, like little steps, little stones to get to the overall boulder of it.
Right.
Just keep in mind, like through every small and big decision, like is this contributing to something where you truly want to be in the future?
Right, because you only have a certain allotted time on this earth, and we believe, of course, that you go somewhere else after that. But on this earth, you do have a limited runtime. So you want to make sure how well am I using this runtime? Yeah. Make sure that you're being productive with your time. I guess
what you do today will influence how you do tomorrow. Just made that up.
I didn't have a mic, so I just... Dang, that kind of hurt my ears. All right. Of course, we do have the verse of the day. So, I know all the non-Christians are like, oh, this is my least favorite part. And look, I'm not sorry. But,
He's not.
I'm really not. This is my joy. Yeah. So today it is... Again, the book of Romans. I didn't even realize that until I'd already chosen it, and I listened back to our old podcast. I was like,
again?
oh, yeah, it's still Romans. I wrote it down. Romans 8:6. Romans chapter 8, verse 6.
I keep forgetting sometimes of how light Bible pages are, because there's so many pages.
Oh my god, yeah, they're like paper thin.
I feel like I'm scared I'm gonna rip. I've never ripped a page of. Have you ever?
I think I have.
You have?
I have. No, I was turning one time, and I think, man, I forget if someone was talking to me, and I looked over, and as I was turning the page, it because I wasn't looking, and it was so delicate, I went down, and it just went down the whole length of the page.
Sin. It's like that's the equivalent for me. There's things I'm scared of ripping: Bible pages and dollar bills, money. I've never ripped a.
Have you never?
No.
It's liberating.
Next video we are ripping all. Actually, I think I have some in here. Don't rip it up. That's in the next
one. $20 bill. Okay, so verse of the day, Romans chapter 8 verse 6, and this definitely ties into what we've been talking about. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So again, if you're living purely for physical pleasure, if you're living purely for satisfying your immediate needs, that is the path that you don't want to go on, because that's the path of death. That's where it's gonna lead you. But if you're spiritually minded, that's life and peace right there, right? So for us, if you're keeping God number one, and you're keeping what you're seeking after as paramount in your life, everything else should follow suit, essentially. And that kind of sums that up. Sweet. So yeah, I guess I did want one more thing before we end this. Let me see how much time.
Oh, I think we still have like 6 or so minutes left.
Yeah, we got. Man, you're on top of that.
I mean,
you can't even see this, and you're like.
Why I'm keeping track of it is because unlike.
I'm sorry that we have to keep looking over.
Well, I'll figure this out, I promise. But on my camera, I can't. It doesn't.
That's what you said last week.
It doesn't work like Adrian's. I can just keep on recording. Mine, the max is like 20 minutes, but I'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
At some point.
We're holding you to that, my brother.
Dang it.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, so someone reached out to us by, I don't know if you want to say her name. Drum roll, please.
Oh, sorry. Let's say this because this is an extremely cool kid. We are very lucky that she wrote to us.
Yeah.
Sophia or Sophie.
Yeah, she goes by Sophia, I think.
Coronel. That's not how she says last name. Sophie Coronel. And we like to think.
She sent me 3 different topics with a bunch of details to go into. So she sent that after we'd already made the outline for this episode, which is why we didn't go into it this episode. So, Sophie, we are getting to those questions. Yes. That will be the next episode and the next episode of the podcast. So for the next 2 episodes, we will be answering your questions. We wanted to give her a shout out because she was nice enough to comment. She's one of the first ones to comment on our videos, and she was the first one to reach out to us. Actually the only one so far. So, if you want to reach out to us. Hall of Fame for us. Oh, for sure. So if you want to send anything to us, like Sophie did, any recommendations for the videos, any topics that you'd like us to cover, any questions that you'd like us to answer, send them our way. Our our email is on our page on our YouTube channel. So just go to the About page. Emails right there, 55purefilms@gmail.com. And and then we also have our website, which of course is going to be linked in the description of this video.
Man, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy good. Good crazy. Most times. Yeah.
That's debatable. But anyways, so we just want to thank Sophie and thank everyone for and also everyone who watched. We have, I think, 73 views, which sounds pathetic.
Thank you guys. Also, even
to most YouTubers, it might sound pathetic. I was over the moon when I saw that number. I was like, "What? That many people listen?" I was pretty amazed
knowing that you guys are watching this. And if there's anything you can improve on, or want us to address,
if you want to hate on us, we won't stop you.
Okay. I think that's a wrap for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Sophie. It's a cool kid that is a super math genius for submitting those 3 questions, which we will address.
Super math genius.
Super.
Oh, super, not super?
I thought that's what you said.
I actually don't know what I said.
You're a math genius, a really cool math genius.
I have short-term memory loss.
Thank you for listening, guys. And
we'll see you in the next episode of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Next time. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day or night. God bless.